Good vibes only, sir.
Ring, ring, ring.
And you're not having good vibes. Bad vibes.
And you have a stupid fortress. Ring, ring, ring. Hero simps and merchants, and you spit
Seriously,
on me again.
no respect.
The fuck up. And welcome back
Whoa.
to... Can you just let me finish? And welcome back to Krown's magical...
Finish cave.
And...
Whoa, what the fuck was that, man? Anyways, welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. Just getting ready for a nice start to this week over here. Want to be wishing everyone well as usual, and we do have a big day ahead of us. The reason why is because it's the monthly closure. The month is just about over for January. Time is fucking flying by like crazy. It's just insane to even realize how fast time seems to be just floating on by. My life just continues to carry on over, and hopefully it's been worth it. But we have plenty to prepare for, of course, with the monthly closure, and then of course the short-term time frames actually showing a little bit of fun action today as well. So a big focus on that. We'll get into that soon enough. I want to give a big shout out right now actually to one of my good friends, a good friend of the channel as well, Mr. Faraz Mobin over here on Twitter actually, who's put together something really cool actually. You might even recognize the intro tunes, but basically what he's done is, let me actually turn it down for right now so it doesn't get too much in the way, but basically he's created like a how do I explain this? It's like a metaverse rave cave in a space galaxy far away. This is like a fucking, it's like an underground cave rave in fucking Mars, basically, on a golf course, something like that, just fucking insane, man. So it's actually gonna be pretty damn cool in the future. At some point we're probably gonna be doing streams in a venue like this, and everyone's gonna have like their own little avatar, and we'll be like in the charts, you know, be one with the fucking charts, which I thought was super cool. But yeah, man, he made this all by himself, which is just absolutely insane. So I want to give him a massive shout out right there. He's actually been a humongous help within this channel as well. So if you want to support him, I've actually retweeted this tweet, and if you just like it, and I don't know, maybe give him a follow as well if you're into the old metaverse type stuff. He's gonna be one of the prominent players in there. I can assure you of that. He's just a genius with this sort of stuff. He's actually made a lot of the thumbnails for this channel as well, and he's really been a major help. So I wanted to give something back to him as well. Usually he won't let me, but I'm forcing this one in right there. As you can see, the little avatar of a DJ going on. So want to give a quick shout out to him because he's an absolutely beautiful person. And there you go. You can find him again at Mobin Faraz on Twitter, or just look at my my retweeted tweet from yesterday. Anyways, with that in mind, what else do I want to say before we get into the content of the day? I would like to actually, finish up this coffee as well. Yeah, man, super dope. I'm really impressed with where that's all going, because at some point, we're all probably going to be living in there for better or worse. I mean, maybe for worse, but at least it'll be fun. And there'll be some good memories as well. Anyways, I see a lot of familiar faces in here. Nikki Page, good morning to you. Dad Rakish, Sean Waller, Big Boy George, Tokyo Channel, what's up, man? Frig Diggler, Fredericks Ulmanis, nice name right there, sir. Nuke Tech, what's up, brother? Crypto Med Willist, good morning to you all. Josh B, James Buttery, I even see Mr. Plums himself, Fedcoin, Uncle D. Who else do we have? Jojo Bass Anderson, he says, when Dubai? Actually, this week we'll be going on Wednesday, I think it is. Well, we'll be there on we'll actually like arrive on Thursday, but yeah, we'll be there for like a couple weeks. It's Elsa's birthday's gift. She loves Dubai, so I figured it'd be a good time to go check it out, especially right now, seeing as it's literally so snowy on the ground that you really can't even drive anywhere here right now. It's actually kind of annoying at this point. Yeah, well, as if you drive. Anyways, but walking around is just an absolute fucking chore right now. Buffalo, Tony Begg, what's up, brothers? Crypto Bolt 369, nice one. Hey, what's up, Jack Asman? Good morning to you as well. Aw Seeker, Jamie, Daxion, Esoteric Nightmares. That sounds like something that Elsa was having last night. She's had a very difficult time watching The Witcher recently because she likes The Witcher, but she's very easily scared. So when all these fucking monsters come on, it destroys her sleep. So there you go. Anyways, I'm gonna finish off the rest of this coffee, and then we have a big one basically focusing on a kind of a tale of two time frames today, essentially between the short-term time frames and the monthly, essentially, which are really going to set in a more sovereign view of the long term. But short term, Bitcoin still kind of chugging its way along. So a little bit of an ebb and flow right here. Probably lots of opportunity, I imagine, in the middle of this month, of the middle of this month to come, that being February. And until then, well, a little bit of waiting around until U.S. markets open, I suspect. There we go. All right, good to go now. Let me just grab my water so it's on deck. Got it already. Oh my God! And this is the first time that we haven't actually seen extremely fearful reads on the fear and greed index since it's got to be like a month or so now. It's actually consistently in there for a while. Alrighty, here we go. Here it is once again with Bitcoin to start this one off. I'm actually going to come back into the Krown trading application a little bit later. As always, though, most of the pertinent information is here, and some of the most important information for the general analysis to come will be here as well. But I want to really create sort of a dualistic analysis here in the sense that there's a significant difference between what's going on in the short-term timeframes and then, of course, the macro timeframes, meaning the monthly. And be seen as the monthly will be closing for January later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, or 00 UTC. There's much to prepare for, as that is really going to set in the bias for the next, couple of months to come. So with that in mind, we'll start with the short-term timeframes here. Realistically, very little's changed. I'm going to be working off of CME's chart to start this one off, simply because on Monday, it just, it's just a better chart, a more clean and clear chart to be working off of. And it's the same thing as before. Look, below $39,000, which is actually more like 38,900, let's say on CME on a 4-hour closure, still have no range resolution to the upside. Yes, do I think that there is several things that suggest that Bitcoin it does give a move somewhere up around there and continue on with the short-term rally? Probably yes, into early February, that is. But ultimately, until this criteria is validated right here, there's no trade to be made, or no no validated conditions for continuation to be had just yet. Although it is rather close right there, as you can see. But a slew of rejections at just under the $39,000 level, of course, does say that it is relevant to be cautious right now. On top of that, do we have hidden bearish divergence building right here? We do actually on the 4-hour RSI, which will be confirmed for, it will be confirmed with any sort of a closure below about 36,500. That likely wouldn't be a death sentence. However, it would very likely imply a retest back down to the short-term time frame range lows. In that case, it's going to be right around about 34,500. That is kind of the line in the sand for myself, and I imagine many of the people out there as well, if you've been following on to this analysis, or just if you're going off of general TA principles right here, that would be the line in the sand for essentially looking at this as a failed attempt for yet again another low with targets back down somewhere between about $29,000 to $30,000, essentially in the midst of the long-term macro blue box right here, coming off of the summer lows and of course January of last year lows as well. So that would imply a move somewhere back down around there yet again. Again, I do think it's a little more likely that Bitcoin bounces kind of to start off February in this case. The question is, how far do we get down on this next move if that does get confirmed to begin with? So first and foremost, that is not confirmed right now. If the confirmation conditions are, well, essentially validated, then yes, I would be looking for a move somewhere down around that region, whether it be between about 35.5 or perhaps all the way down to 34,500. Either one of those is fair game, but ultimately, as long as Bitcoin is closing above specifically 34,500, I do look at that as, still a basing area and more likely to bounce from that region. Anyways, with that in mind, do we see anything that is significantly interesting over here? I mean, we do see that 4-hour jewel is still showing upside. However, it is weakening right there, as you can see, and I imagine it's going to lose its signal relatively soon, especially with seeing the volatility actually crater right here as well. This is not a strong signal. This is a corrective signal is what it is to the upside. And right now we found another lower high right around the 55. So that would be a good counterpoint to what I'm saying. However, if we do get the validation conditions above, again, about 38,900 is what I'm trying to say, I would be looking for, a pretty nice move back up somewhere between about 41.5 to about $43,000. I'll make a nice little blue box right here for the targeted region. Something like this is what I'd be looking for, essentially in line with the full hour 200 moving averages. You do see it kind of crawl its way down, which Bitcoin has been essentially allergic to ever since it lost it back and over here in November, obviously. So until then, I really have the same thing to say about this in the sense that, look, as long as Bitcoin's putting in lower highs on the daily, it's just it's all upside. All talking about upside is hopium. We can look for indicators and whatnot that do support that there's a chance for that, but at the end of the day, until that condition is met, until at minimum we even have a range resolution to the upside, there's just no it's just hopium. But that is the relevance of this region right here. Again, the low actually it's more like mid $40,000 territory, which is your last lower high on Bitcoin on the daily, specifically right here, just under $44,000 on a closing basis. On a wick basis, more like a little bit over 44,000 bucks right there. So as long as Bitcoin's below there on a daily, Still the same shit, still just another major massive downtrend. I do want to follow up on this signal as well on the 5-day, and then we'll get on to the very higher term timeframes. But basically the 5-day stochastic momentum signal was actually validated upon closure last night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Now, in order to maintain this, Bitcoin needs to continue to close above, guess where, 34,600. So right around the bottom side pivot on this price action. That also is to say that as long as Bitcoin, is above there, again, we do expect, or at least I do expect Bitcoin to continue on with the general bounce party here into probably middle of February. This is a 5-day chart after all, so it's not going to, you don't expect the results today. You expect the results within the next, probably like few weeks to be a little more realistic. The last 4 times that we've seen a signal like this, in fact, the only 4 times that we've seen a signal like this where it's come down specifically to this green horizontal bar, have been some pretty impressive bounces in the past. In fact, not just bounces, but macro cycle lows. We're talking about this one over here from December 2018. Now, keep in mind, Bitcoin did, hang around those lows for a while. It wasn't just like a green dildo party to the upside exactly from that moment. In fact, even to just break above your 5-day range highs, or your daily range highs in this case, took 2.5 months from that point. Before that, we did see another macro cycle low over here in January 2015, as you can see. And again, even from that point, from January 2015, in order for it to like really get some momentum to the upside, took until October. That was nearly a fucking year right there. And you can see that things did come back down and test around that prior low, in fact, in the interim. And then the time before that, which wasn't too far before that, was of course in October on essentially this bull trap right here. This was a pretty impressive move from bottom to top, about a 70% move right there. So even if Bitcoin does play out something relatively similar, like, could still be very much bearish, of which we'll follow up on the conditions for a macro reversal specifically after this. But until that's had, that is still kind of the general long-term view of this. And more importantly, or not more importantly, but going back to the genesis over here in October 2011, you can see that this did get the macro cycle low here as well. And again, from that point to actual momentum being gained to the upside for a major move took about 3 months, or basically 3 months to December, January of that year. And even then, I mean, it was another like quarter and a half of just sideways right here before things really started to get going. So I do think that this market is kind of going to be relatively dull at best for a while. You probably feel that yourself. I definitely see it on YouTube. I definitely feel that way as well, in the sense that, the people who are paying attention to this market right now are like the true believers, people who are, or maybe becoming true believers, or maybe they're starting to believe in the tech as well. Maybe, that's right. We're all in it for the tech. But my point is that, we're probably not looking at anything major to the upside anytime relatively soon. That being at best, maybe into, Q3 of this year. And that's like best case scenario in my opinion, as you can see from the past iterations of this signal. And even then, if you do have a more immediate immediate response, that was actually a lot more reminiscent of what you saw back over here on the bull trap. So do be aware of that. Do be aware that for right now, Bitcoin is still a little more in limbo, and that condition must be continued to validate, meaning that no closures below that region, even on a daily, probably does it as well. To be quite frank, for completely destroying price action back down to $29,000 to $30,000 base. Until then, still a little more likely to bounce. Short-term timeframes, can they ebb and flow here? Absolutely yes. In fact, they very likely will. And let's actually go into our short-term timeframe stochastic momentum, of which we can go reference over here on the 4-hour. 4-hour stochastic momentum is still to the upside as long as Bitcoin's closing above 36,500. I'm specifically using CME right now. Again, the CME signals on specifically Monday and Tuesday do have a higher efficacy and hit rate. Bi-hourly is showing what? Is going to be showing actually downside momentum, will cross back onto the upside above 38, and hourly is going to be showing what over here is going to be showing, I don't know because it's not loading, will flip back around about 37,500 or so. So we do see kind of lower term timeframes in limbo with each other, which likely aligns with sideways price action. Medium and higher term timeframes, of which we can reference the 12-hour. A little bit more concerning. 36,250 will turn this one back up. So technically speaking, you are significantly above there right now, and this one will be closing in about 4 hours 45 minutes. So if that were to get validated to the downside, probably to come back down and test around range lows, to be fair. But for right now, that one is I suppose safe. Daily, same thing here too. 35,800, the magical number, to almost work its way out of the bearish control zone. I see some wagmies from Willis World. Yes, we all might even make it. We all almost make it. Elsa says no. She looks at her portfolio in the morning. She goes, it's not good. It's not good. It's like every time she looks at it, it's not good. I don't like it. It's not good. It's like, I'm out. I quit. Buy daily is actually showing downside momentum below about $38,000, but and that actually is close tonight. So that would be a little bit more concerning as well. And then of course, we've already seen the 5-day and the weekly, of which the weekly on spot and CME has updated significantly now, will be turning up above about 41,700. So you can see the relevance of even breaking the medium-term time frame range highs here at about just under $39,000. That will very likely start to satisfy the conditions, not just for the 5-day, but also the weekly as well, allowing for a bounce likely a lot higher. That brings into the question where those bounce targets be, and more importantly, where would the macro trend really reverse here, and it's safe to be, bullish for, I guess the foreseeable future. Well, you probably didn't know where I'm going with this if you've been watching these videos for a while now, and that would be looking at this as a bearish Fibonacci retracement right here, of which I'm going to get rid of this for right now. And of course, if Bitcoin were to get back above that region, again, that last lower high, I would be looking for extension somewhere between about $44,000 to $48,000. Again, that doesn't really do too much for price action, and to be quite frank, I would be expecting weakness within this region and to pull back. And the question is, after that pullback, and very likely coming down somewhere around $40,000, does Bitcoin put in a higher low or not? If it does, and does something like this, and then specifically gets back above this last region right here, yeah, we can start to talk about long-term bullishness. Probably still takes a long time anyways, months down the road. I think at best, around later this year. And worst case scenario would be something like this, where it bounces initially, puts another lower high, and then breaks specifically below $40,000. If you see something like that, very, 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 very likely going to revisit somewhere between about $29,000 to $30,000. This blue box right here. Do things bounce yet again off that region? Perhaps yes. Could be like 6,000 in 2018, but ultimately, 25,000 would still be on the board based off of the monthly 55, or I guess not even on this one, but based off the monthly 55 right here. Keep in mind, however, on the higher term timeframes like the monthly, we are putting a nice bounce off the 21, which is going to be typically a take profit region for bearish divergence like you see right here. So with that in mind, short term, are things more likely to bounce? Probably yes. Maybe after a very, very short-term time from continuation of this pullback, which we would say was likely yesterday, but I think we've kind of seen, the easy portion of that move already, to be fair. And then the question is, coming into maybe like end of February or March, do we see that, catastrophic move for BULAs right there? So that's essentially what the preparation is for right now. And now I want to bring you over to the monthly, because we are going to be closing the monthly, well, today. Actually, before we do that, let's go over here into the Krown trading application. Of course, you can find all of this data for free in the link in the description below. And the global open interest right now is still coming off the lows for this current little segment. And you can see that typically when you do see a nice move down like this based off the open interest, and you do see a little bit of accumulation of positions in a region like this, probably going to see a move opposing that current trend. In this case, that would be a bit of a upside move. Again, just because it is an upside move does not mean that it is a long-term reversal. Those conditions are very, 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 very far away. And based off the monthly, I think that it's, it's pretty, it's very far away. We'll just say that. Long term, do I think that this does come lower? Probably yes, somewhere between the September lows and the summer lows right here. Definitely very unlikely below the summer lows. Obviously there's just more major players in this game now compared to the past, but ultimately, that would, the lower the better for a general reset. On top of that, if we go over here to our funny rates, we did see consistently negative rates for about a week and a half. Right now, they actually are slightly positive, basically zero, effectively zero, not 2%. And if we go over here into the hourly feed, it's actually technically negative, that same number right there, but more or less, again, is going to be putting a little bit more pressure on shorts as they are paying for their positions, the very, very short term, but more or less, more on a 10-day, average here. Obviously they have been paying, and Bitcoin has essentially failed to break the current lows. So, you're either going to get some shorts taking profits, or the more over leveraged aggressive shorts, the less inspiring ones, we'll say, they probably get a little bit of a whiplash here. So I do think that kind of aligns with more of a move in that direction. Leverage ratio, funnily enough, has actually been coming down this whole way as well. It's still incredibly high, but has been slowly working its way down. So I'm interested to see how that one works out. I don't really have any real analysis for it. because I think that it's kind of like a difficult metric to be keeping track of, just because with all the moving parts in this market and all of the natural increase in leverage positions, just because of ETFs for futures, and of course probably a spot ETF coming at some point as well. Just more professionals involved in this market, they're going to be using derivative contracts, of course, to be well managing their risk and their positions. Anyways, fear and greed index, again, a little bit more on the bouncy side right here. I do think that it would be a little bit more confidence inducing if we didn't see it out of the extremely fearful zone just yet, whilst Bitcoin is still caught below even the medium term time frame range highs. So that you could look at that as a bit of a divergence, to be fair, but ultimately that alongside NUPL, the NUPL reads right here, if Bitcoin wants to bounce and Bitcoin does validate above that $39,000 level, we're very likely looking at a move into the mid 40s is essentially my analysis on there, with a few stops along the way, one of them being or a very specific one being in between that $42,000 to $43,000 region, and then above there somewhere around $45,000 to $50,000 or so. Anyways, with that said, let's now get into the monthly analysis for this, because this is very, 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 very important. So I want to actually start it off on this chart over here, this chart representing the accumulation distribution indicator, of which you can see it has essentially been 100% perfect with getting the macro changes in direction on Bitcoin, specifically with just the slope changes on this indicator. That is not the same thing as whether it's green or red, although it more or less does work out that way for what it's worth. But in general, until we lose this downside slope right here, it has not been in any way, shape, or form ever a winning trade in the past to be looking for a macro shift in direction. Even before the flu dump of 2020 right here, you will notice that we actually got a negative slope on it in February, so a month before that dump actually happened, which was rather profound, as it was one of the few indicators that, technically speaking, could have told you about that. And for right now, it should also be known that anytime that you have seen a slope change, especially after being red, so when you have a negative slope like this and it's in the red zone and then it shifts to an upside slope, we've actually never seen Bitcoin even test around its prior highs until about like 4 to 6 months after that. So let me actually measure this one out. We have this iteration right here. I think this is actually, no, this is not gonna be the closest one, but this one, for example, shifted in let's say August, September. Let's just say August, give it the benefit, give it the benefit of the doubt, and we'll actually go September in this case. And how long until then did it actually test around its prior highs? I mean, it actually technically wasn't even until like just January 2017. So that's September of 2015 to January of 2017. So that's quite far away. Even on this, or especially on this one over here, I mean, this one takes way too long, but even on the most recent one where we did see it flip in May to June, that is. So let's just say from June right here to testing the prior all-time high, that wasn't until November 2020. So even that one did take like 4 or 5 months right there. And of course, we go all the way back on over here. This one also taken about 4 or 5 months as well. So first things first, we don't even have a slope change. Second thing second, we don't even have it in the red zone just yet. And third, once that actually does change, it's still probably going to be at least a few months wait, I imagine, at best case scenario, for Bitcoin to flip around. On top of that, we do have bearish divergence confirmed on the MFI for the monthly. That's not great for the long term. And if we go over here, I want to once again point out the monthly MACD signal, of which we really only have a few of them in the history of Bitcoin. To be fair, however, to the monthly MACD signal, it is a little bit further away right now, to be fair, but 40,750 would actually force or just not across the downside in this case. It wouldn't necessarily be across the upside because it's already across the upside, but obviously living below that region right now, it's not just a little more likely, it's much more likely, because that's about $4,000 away from what we're currently trading at, with only just what is this, like 17 hours and 26 minutes left to go in the month. So with that in mind, we do have several iterations of this in the past, 1, 2, 3, and working on number 4 right here. Do we have another one? No, we do not actually. But ultimately, those MACD monthly crosses to the downside alongside a PMER cross to the downside of the moving average, this white moving average right here, has, accurately gotten several major trend shifts, macro trend shifts to the downside. all of them testing to the green 55 over a long enough time period. Now, again, it does take some time, obviously, but looking at this right here, we have a very similar setup where Bitcoin's coming off of the white 20 simple, same thing as you saw over here and over here and over here as well. Spends a few months kind of oscillating around there, and then once it does kind of start to close below, well, that is the last sort of gasp for air before, well, actually working its way down to the 55, which is currently at about 22,350. Obviously, with each and every passing month, that will rise up. So I'm kind of extrapolating this over time and saying that it, probably reaches somewhere around what, like $25,000 or so. So I think that's kind of like worst case scenario. But this likely does take some time. So that would be the more bearish view of this. And of course, with the monthly close and a little bit later today, well, I think that that is relevant to be speaking about. On top of that, we also do see over here for the monthly stochastic momentum on both CME and spot price action is going to be crossing down, assuming that Bitcoin doesn't have about a $15,000 rally before end of day. Hey, crazy things happen in cryptocurrency land, but I can't say that I've seen a $15,000 rally in one day, or less than one day in this case, ever in Bitcoin's history. In this case, this will be not just crossing to the downside, but also losing the bullish control zone. The last time we saw it actually lose the bullish control zone with downside momentum was back on over here, March 2018. You probably know where that is. That's the bull trap in 2018, of course. Or actually there is an iteration right here as well. It got rejected at the bullish control zone and turned down. That was November 2019, stayed all the way down through the flu dump. And then the only other times that we really have iterations for this was way back on over here. Elsa's sign in the background. It's a difficult day already. And that was in February 2014. Can't help myself, man. Anyways, with all of that said, this is a great time to plug good old Bybit. Go get wrecked on fucking Bybit. Bybit's the best place to leverage your fucking house and life away. No, just kidding. Don't do that, man. Look, when it comes to leverage exchanges, no matter which exchange that you choose to use, whether it be Bybit, FTX, Phoenix, and Buy Derp Alert, Derpidit exchange, all these exchanges, I strongly suggest, hey, regardless of whatever the fuck they're offering you, whether it be like a deposit bonus or free this, free that, always understand that when they're offering something free, it's to get you enticed onto it, and probably because they're going to end up, roping you in, I guess. Anyways, for the people who already have a winning strategy, who already have, a good formula to be working off of, meaning that you've backtested your strategy, you have good statistics to support it, and you probably even have some success already trading to begin with, yeah, man, well, go ahead, take advantage of it. You get a bit of a deposit bonus, free money. It makes sense. If you haven't done that, don't fucking do that, man. It's probably not going to end up too well. Trading is, I'm not going to say that trading is, I don't want to dissuade anyone from learning how to trade, because, if someone did that to me when I was first starting, that would be, well, I wouldn't have appreciated that. In fact, people did do that, and I didn't appreciate that. So, I also understand that when you're first starting off, you can be a little bit sensitive to that sort of a thing because you don't really have too much self-trust, but understand that when it comes to learning, and just from what I've noticed from myself and many others, typically takes about a year to a year and a half to kind of get to a comfortable and confident position to even just be, self-sustaining. So in that case, if that's not you, really should, I'm not going to try to be your dad or anything like that, but I would strongly caution against getting on any exchange, whether it be leverage or regular spot. You can get those same experiences. You can get experiences without risking any finances, simply by just doing a paper or testnet account, of which Bybit actually does have a testnet account. So that would be a better plug, in my opinion, to kind of get them their due diligence or whatever the fuck. Just type in Bybit testnet and there you go. All right, sweet. I think that does it for the old cone right there, and let's get into the rest of it then. All right, cool. I'm going to turn on the alerts for right now. I'm going to turn this back up over here. There we go. Chris DC says, great call for Luna Krown. I think we were pretty bearish on that one last, so I dare look at this one. Let's see. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, that's, dear Lord, man, that one came down fucking hard right there. Yeah, I probably would. Oh yeah, we just about hit the target there off the measure move. So probably do see some see some shorts closing, probably do bounce off this level, but that is not the same thing again as reversal. Holy fucking moly, man. This thing, there is no reversal talks about this thing as long as you're below $70 now. This thing could easily bounce back up to like 55, 60 with that in mind, but man, that is just a that is a hell of a fucking drop off right there. No bounces for the last, what is this, week? Yeah, for the last week, just straight down, straight fucking down. That is brutal, man. That is just fucking brutal. Anyways, I need to see what else has lined up for me over here. Let me just pull up the old chatties and let me readjust my own windows so that everything is nice and well and good. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Where is it? There we go. Okay, found it. Let me take a sippy sip of this. All right, cool. I think I think it's gonna be a pretty slow day today, so probably gonna be a lot of talking. Also, I do have to, or not I have to, but I want to. I'm gonna be doing a Sims episode a little bit later, so probably gonna be a little bit on the shorter side for this one. Anyways, I believe that we have Mr. BK first. He's looking at Vader versus Wrapped Ethereum. Gotcha. All right, let's see what we got over here on Uniswap. And yeah, this one's turning down and this one's losing its structure. And this is really shaping up to be one massive distribution here. And the key critical component was when this one put in the lower high at about 245,000 butyrols in this case. Sorry about that, but I mean, not really much to look at on a weekly, to be fair, so I don't think that I have much to say about that, but it's not going to really change the analysis to begin with. Short term, are you going to bounce around this region, maybe on like a 4 hour? Perhaps, let's see. Yeah, maybe another short-term time frame bounce on a 4. I think best it does see upside is maybe like 210,000 butyrols, I suppose. But daily is very, 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 very obviously distribution here, and I suspect that you will see a big markdown actually in the month of February, which is probably not going to be good or kind towards this asset, of which I would be looking for general targets back down to about 100,000. Is that butyrols, which is basically back down to base, pretty much undoing this whole rally that you did see. The only way that I'd invalidate that is by moving back above this last rejective high right here. But when you see something like this, I like to refer to it as the rolling hills of distribution. It's kind of a variation of like a fucked up head and shoulders with a double left shoulder and just one right shoulder, and actually kind of a double head almost as well. Ultimately, when you see rounded tops like this, that is indicative of some serious selling. In this case, you know, I do think that the party's over for this one for a while, to be quite frank with you. So long term, you know, over the next month or two, I'd be looking for it to come down here. Short term, does it bounce around again? Maybe yes. Again, any bounce that just fails to get back above about 250, especially is, you know, it's just that, a bounce before further continuation to the downside. So that's all of that. That's really all that I have to say about that one, man. Andre 3005 says, hoping I could get your thoughts on KDA USD. Oh dear Lord, the old Kadurpa. Man, people seem to really love this one. So fair enough, but I think the LARP lines are only hopium right here. Even then, the LARP lines, we're actually getting rejected at the 200 simple right there, but you know, kind of similar to Bitcoin in this case, right? In the sense that if you do confirm above what would be your medium-term time frame range highs, which is about 660, you're very, I wouldn't say you're very close to it right now, but you are somewhat close to it right now. It got rejected from there just a couple days ago, which is not a good sign. But if you do start to validate above there, I would be looking for, you know, a pretty nice rally, somewhere between about $9 at minimum, maybe even as much as 140 to 150. But ultimately, this one, very similar to a lot of the other charts, I do think that this one eventually comes all the way down to about $2.50, maybe even as far down as about 140 over a long enough time frame. But short term, you know, if Bitcoin bounces, things very likely going to bounce alongside of it. I just want to see a 4 hour closure, basically above these range highs, which is 650 to 660. Let's just say 660, just easier to say right there. And then I'd be looking for bounce first. I do think that the hopium of this one is very far away, to be honest with you. I don't think that's what's happening, but if it does happen, that's great. If it doesn't, you should probably expect lower highs somewhere between about $9 and $11.50 or so, and then the inevitable dooms drop over the next couple months here, with targets back down around here. Again, remember, this one, you know, this one seems to have kind of a cult-like following as well. And here's the real chart on linear scale. I mean, this is, you know, this is pretty fucking wrecked. So you went to the moon, but you built up no real consolidations on the way to the upside. So that's typically the way that you're going to come down. And I think that's kind of what's happening right here. Even on the daily, I imagine we might, oh no, we don't have any hidden bearish divergence. Probably 12 hour does. It actually, let's see, we got 49.56 RSI right there versus 49.72 RSI right there. So technically speaking, there's going to be a very slight drive of hidden bearish divergence. You know, does that play out all the way down towards your range lows? Maybe $5.50 or so. I don't know if that's too concerning for you or not. What would be more concerning for having a greater drop first before any sort of a major bounce? Well, again, you haven't validated the conditions for your bounce, so I guess that's kind of a moot point to begin with. But I would validate a major continuation of this dumbola party with any sort of a 4-hour closure. I wouldn't say here, I'd be a little more lenient towards it. I'd say more like between about 510 to 515 below there. Big problems, and very likely do initiate the next major leg down somewhere around about $3.50, maybe even as low as $2.50 on the next move. Again, that'd probably come alongside Bitcoin breaking its range as well to the downside. Anyways, you're saying on the 4-hour time frame going into U.S. stock market opening, I believe there may be a nice chance for a 5 to 10% rebound. I mean, could be again alongside Bitcoin. That would, okay, 5 to 10%, 50%. Oh my God. Okay, look, I think now that I look at the percentages over here, there is no fucking way that is happening. Holy shit! From where you're at right now to just the 382, or sorry, that would be $9, which was right around there. It's like 60% move. That is very unlikely. That's asking for a lot right there. Sorry, I should also put it on like this. So could it be like a 5 to 10% rebound? Well, that's probably not too much in this case. I guess that's back around 612. Yeah, could be. Yeah, I mean, that's not really asking for too much in this case. And let's actually go check out traditional markets. I forgot to include this into the analysis because this one actually was going to help out a little bit on the short-term bounce case, but we do see on NASDAQ specifically, starting to find a little bit of its footing right here. We've seen extremes on daily BBWP. After you see something like this, you're more likely to bounce. Yes, it is more likely to be a corrective bounce. So that means lower high watch somewhere around 15,100, maybe even as high as 15,500, but probably does bounce a little bit more. Weekly, same thing as well. I mean, we saw a nice, nice bounce to close Friday, and typically coming into the end of the month, things get kind of marked up, to help everyone's P&L out, basically. Anyways, I think we have Mr. Jack next. Good morning to you, man. Matic 4-hour and daily. Yeah, let's check this one out. Maybe I record a video on this one because I haven't done that in a while. Interesting one right here, actually. Very interesting one. Okay, here we have Polygon symbol MATIC versus the dollar from Mr. Jack Assman. We're going to be looking at a daily and a 4-hour and then maybe some of the other higher term timeframes. So we have a very similar setup here to what we have on Bitcoin, right? In the sense that you have your range highs there, once again getting rejected at about 174, 175 region, which I actually would call a range resolution to the upside in this case, with even a 4-hour closure above about 175, with targets up, somewhere around 195 to maybe even as much as 205. So that is a rather nice move right here. Let me just kind of highlight this area out. Something like this, what I'd be looking for if that condition were validated. But for right now, I mean, this is, to be fair, this is actually a continuation of a downside setup. I mean, you got another test of the 55 on low volatility. Now it is rising up. You see your momentum also is pointing down, so that's not great. But ultimately, I have the same thing to say about Bitcoin in the sense that, I would be cautious of looking for major downside continuation, even though there certainly may be over a long enough time period, let's say into like maybe March, what's the month after March? Don't know. But, in that sort of a time frame, April, whatever. Doesn't matter. Anyways, I would still be looking at about 143 as a bit of a short, not even a short term, but a medium term time frame base. So as long as you're above there, I do suspect, short term downside moves, not too threatening unless you're very concerned about, well, that right now, which maybe you are, maybe not, I don't know. But if you do start to see closures below there, then yes, I would be looking for the next leg down, somewhere around about $1.25 to $1.20, which is a rather big move on a $1.50 number. Until then, what's more likely to happen right here? Do you get another bounce above this region? I kind of think so, essentially alongside Bitcoin. But until those conditions are validated, it's just, it's just hopium, to be fair. But what is kind of rounding out that sort of analysis? We do see BBWP reaching extremes here after a pretty hefty move to the downside. Once you see something like that, typically going to see a little bit of a bounce, which we of course are getting right now, but well, I mean, we are getting that right now, to be fair. So perhaps that is the bounce. Perhaps it's a continuation of the bounce. Let's go check it out from a stochastic momentum perspective. I really want to see where the daily is specifically, and then maybe check out the monthly as well. So let's go to the daily and see where the pain points are right now. Daily momentum will actually turn down with any sort of a closure today below 151. So right now trading about 3 cents above that. Keep that number in mind. Again, it would be a more corrective move, even if it does continue up here with volatility this high, still looking for lower highs on the bounce. Just, targets the upside would be initiated if that criteria is still confirmed. Anyways, 5-day, what are we seeing right here? Still nosediving below 203, but it is correcting rather heftily, and we do see a nice trend line forming in from the last few lows. So that would be coming in actually right around the critical zone, but that would imply, another week or two, maybe kind of hanging around the lows. 2-day is turning up as well above 139, so that is good, I suppose. And very short-term time frames like a 4-hour are also nosediving. Not great right here, but you will actually notice that there very likely is. In fact, there is a nice trendline support coming in right around the critical zone here too, but probably not turning up anytime soon. 166 the magical number for this one. So I'd still kind of be looking at this one on a range resolution perspective. Long term, based off the monthly, let's see if the monthly really makes sense here. Yeah, we will see bearish divergence very likely confirmed at the end of today, which is the end of the monthly, assuming that the closures, especially anywhere below 150, that would certainly confirm it, with targets down maybe March, April region to about $1 or so. Until then, I guess you got 17 hours and 10 minutes left in the trading day. So if that condition is not fulfilled, especially if you close today, let's say above 175, that would no longer be a major concern for me, at least for the short term. Again, easier to watch Bitcoin in this case. Weekly, again, I'm probably looking more for a bounce of this region first. Can it bounce up to like $2 or so? Yes, very, very easily. But what happens after that? Well, that's the real question. That's the real problem. Similar to Bitcoin as well. 12-hour, do we have any concerning signals over here? I mean, it's not like it's not showing upside is what it's not showing, but still, that's why we have range resolution conditions. So until that is met, technically speaking, higher term time frame starting to take over, and well, I think I'll just leave it right there. I don't want to put my opinions on these ones too much. I want to go off of the data as much as possible, and then you make the decision for yourself. But I think you kind of guess where I'm going with that one, and hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Polygon, sir. And also, good morning to you, man. We have I Truly Army 1 says, can you tell me about XRP, man? Thanks. Sure. Do you have any timeframes you'd like to be looking at? Maybe. Pretty wrecked. Just talk about it. Pretty wrecked, man. There's gonna be bounces, of course, to the downside. I don't know what time frames you're on though. If you're on a monthly, I don't think that this one's gonna be done with long-term macro downside until you test, maybe a little bit below about 50 cents or so. That could be in March, April region. I don't necessarily think that I think February is a little more likely to bounce just in general, but this one's relatively weak. So even if Bitcoin does bounce into February, like middle February, so how high does this one get? I think best due to the upside is 75 to 77 cents actually. This one in a very, 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 very hefty and nasty downtrend. And well, relatively weak in this case. If you're on the short-term time frames, like a 4-hour, already given up pretty much all of its rally from last week. Not a sign of strength, might I say. Hidden bearish divergence also confirmed on the 4-hour. I think that a good portion of that move's already played out. The problem is that if Bitcoin bounces, this one very likely bounces with it. I just don't think that this one has much to be excited about, to be honest with you. I think 70 to 77 cents to the upside is best it does on any sort of a Bitcoin bounce. Until then, long term, I do think that targets lower do get fulfilled. That being somewhere around 50 cents, maybe just slightly below 50 cents within the next couple months. Short term, maybe a little more likely to bounce, but just anemic bounces here. Quite an ugly chart, man. I'd imagine I'm heavily bearish on this chart as long as you're closing higher time frames below 70 cents, and I'll just kind of leave that one there. There will be bounces, of course. They're very, very likely to be bounces, of course. Things don't move in a straight line, but below 70 cents, very fucking bad. All right, cool. Let's see. Yeah, I did do Jax. Let's see. I think we have Mr. Mylene Gomes. What's up, man? Luna hitting $44 now. Short-term bouncing on the hourly and 4-hour still downtrend. Let's go reference it over here. I actually bought some Luna myself for a very, very long-term play, even though this is probably not very likely the low. I think this one's going to come down lower over time, man. But I just wanted to get some farming action, and there's some pretty good APY rates right there, which actually in the Discord, I want to create another channel in the Discord for like DeFi strategies, because, man, some of you guys are fucking wizards with that, and it's actually like quite potent. That was really my first introduction to like crypto being useful. DeFi, but it quite literally is, man. It's actually quite amazing. All right, here we have Terra Luna, symbol LUNA versus the dollar. We've hit our daily downside target at about 44 to $45. Yeah, we're actually trading about 44.5 right now, even a little bit below it. Short term, is it more likely to bounce around this region? Yeah, I do think so. If you're on an hourly, as Mr. Mylene Gomes has requested, I imagine you're building up several drops of bullish divergence. In fact, actually, you're not. Fuck. 4-hour will have a chance as well, man. But this is a very, very hefty downtrend, as you did correctly identify. So corrective bounces, how high can they come up? $47.50, certainly not a problem. $50, a little bit more of a problem, but this one is in a hefty long, or not even long-term, but medium-term time frame downtrend, as long as you're below about 50, what is this, 55 right here, essentially. Above 55, I would be looking for greater bounces. You probably see that alongside the rest of the market. Targets, you know, perhaps as high as the mid-60s in this case. And to be fair, we already did hit the measured move from this as a distributive target right here. So you're going to see a lot of shorts probably closing around this region, meaning that you're probably going to see a little bit of bouncy in the short term. But long term, I do think that this one is lower to go, actually. Weekly, I don't think that this one's done before it comes down to mid to low, or wouldn't say mid, but low 30s, you know, maybe in like March, April region. If we go over here to the monthly, this is very concerning. We have a, sorry, it's actually not a bearish engulfing just yet, but this would be a confirmed reversal if we do close anywhere below last month's low, which is 47.73 cent, that is. And over here on the monthly RSI, you will confirm regular bearish divergence, which will have a more long-term target. Yeah, probably more into like the low 30s, upper 20s. And remember, I mean, this is on log scale. Here's a real chart, so that kind of looks like a top. It kind of looks like a top, man. It's long term, but short term, can you bounce back up? Yeah, absolutely, man. Even mid 60s would be fair game if you get a market wide bounce here. But on its own, it's a little bit more short term, relatively weak. 4-hour time frame, I mean, it's just completely fucking wrecked right there. The reason why I'm kind of suggesting it's more likely to bounce right here is that you're going to see extreme conditions on BBWP on the 4-hour pretty much 3 times in a row on these moves to the downside. Probably going to get a bit of a reprieve just from that. And a little bit of bullish divergence building up right there as well. I'm curious to see if stochastic momentum is supportive of that narrative as well, just to see over here. Yeah, 4-hour stochastic is just, it's, I mean, it can always go lower, bro, but, you know, we do see that as a bit of a base scenario. 47.39, the magical number right there. Daily, also the lowest I think that it's ever been. Jesus Christ, maybe not the lowest it's ever been, but the last time we saw it this low was September 2020. That was obviously after the flu dump, and things were pretty much up only from there. So I'm not saying that things are going to be up only from here, but more likely to bounce around this region over the next couple of weeks. And then the question is, do you reclaim any areas that actually make sense for a macro shift in direction? Well, that would have to be, in my opinion, $75 at minimum, but that does imply that you can bounce up quite a fair bit. And then perhaps the inevitable dooms drop does happen. So hopefully that was helpful, and there you go for Luna, sir. Sweet. All right. Or maybe not sweet. We're all Satoshi. What's up, man? You haven't done any shit stocks in a while. Can you look at Ride on the daily and weekly? Okay. I'm not familiar with this one. Lordstown Motors Corporation. Well, let's see what we got here. Oh, God. That is about as bad as it fucking gets, man. Wow, that looks like a crypto chart. It's even worse than a crypto chart. It barely even got a bounce when it tested its prior all-time lows right there. Sorry about that for anyone eating right now or drinking or ingesting any... Oh, dear fucking God, man. The good thing about traditional stocks, however, is that once you get down to 1 cent, you actually really can't go too much lower. There's not like tenths of a cent in once you're like listed on the real exchange. At least in my memory, on OTC you can trade below a cent, yes, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't think I've ever really seen a stock though below 1 cent, like a stock listed on a real exchange, not fucking OTC bullshit. That is just god. Someone must have died doing their business or something. I don't know, man. Terrible. Just fucking terrible. Let's see. I think we have Mr. HFIFM next. He says, Harmony 1 thoughts, sir. I can give you my thoughts, man. It'd be a lot more relevant to you if you gave me a time frame, however. Weekly coming off the 55 right here. I basically have the same thing to say about Bitcoin, in the sense that, you know, this one's actually acting relatively strong, to be fair, over the long period of time. I mean, this is, you know, actually technically good over a long period of time, but that doesn't mean it's going to be immune from any downside movements on Bitcoin, of course. Anyways, daily has a pretty obvious range right here, in the sense that you will see a range resolution to the upside above about 21 cents. Can that work on a 4-hour as well? Technically on a 4-hour, you'd probably want to use about 21.8 in this case, and at that point I'd be looking for moves back up towards 25 to 26.5 cent. Until then, to be fair, you actually do have a bearish redistribution pattern on the lows right now. You do see a bit of I guess I already have it in here, a descending triangle, which I do not have drawn properly, some more like this, and that does have a technical target lower upon validation, which validation would be about 17 cents on a 4-hour closure to the downside, with targets down to about 14 and a half or so. That would very likely come alongside a Bitcoin meltdown as well. So I do think it's, as usual, easier to watch Bitcoin. I am a little bit hesitant to say that that's likely to play out, simply because, again, you're hitting extremes here on daily BBWP. More likely to have a bit of a relief rally first, relief rallies upon validation above that medium-term time frame condition on the 4-hour. I think I said it could come up to about 25.5 to 26.5 cent. I'd say, about there would be fair game. Weekly, coming off the 55 right here, I'm just, I'm more or less looking for a bounce first and foremost after, off of a region like this. And would you technically still have higher lows if it does put on the low right here? Ever so slightly, yes, and you would have hidden bullish evidence if that does happen, but it's not going to be immune from market movements, and the monthly is particularly concerning for the long term, let's say. So I think maybe I'll hold off on saying anything more. I think we got the ranges as best as we can right there. Basically, even if you see a move back above about 20 cents, this last lower high right here, that would be a pretty damn good indication that this one's going to bounce, a lot further into middle of February, that is. Cool. Super Drax says, hey Crowns, what? Oh, I truly am one. When do you think alt season will start? Sir. Sir, is this not fucking alt season right here? What are you waiting for? Look, I think that we've seen a bifurcation in this market between shitty as fuck alts and alts that might be legitimate in the long term. This would be a chart of when that might be legitimate in the long term. This one went to the fucking moon, man. This is the real chart right here. It went to the fucking moon. Is that not an alt season? What about this over here on Luna? Is that not an alt? I mean, this thing, like, what are you talking about, fucking alt season, man? almost 1800% to the upside. That fucking alt season, man. in like less than a year or two. That's just fucking insane. What's another one of these highly esteemed coins that's gone to the moon and beyond? AVAX, right? AVAX. I have to be very careful with how I say that because it sounds like AVAX. But you get what I'm saying right here, man. Is this not alt season? Is this not 1400 fucking %? Is that not alt season? What about Solana? Is just going to be ridiculous, I imagine. Solana over here. Where's my damn soul? Where is my soul? From basically the summer to end of year, 1000% to the upside. These are humongous fucking moves, man. When alt season, I'm pretty sure it happened. I'm pretty sure it happened, man. Most alts are absolute fucking garbage though, and that's why they didn't do much to the upside. And Matic as well, of course. This one also had a fucking phenomenal move from the summer. I mean, yeah, from the summer over here, from July to its current highs, 300% move to the upside. When alt season, we had it. It was there. Where were you? Oh, what's up, Kevin? There he is. By the way, guys, check out Kevin Svensson. He's got a great channel. One of the more dialed in and reasonable people on YouTube, which you just have to fucking love, man. And I consider him a good friend as well. But yeah, man, I'm pretty sure alt season already happened. The problem is that most things did not join in, because I think that we are starting to see bifurcation between legitimate assets within this space and not legitimate assets within the space. I mean, even FTX token, 300% from summer. This is just a summer, so the last basically 6 months, and most of that move was done within like 3 to 4 months. So keep in mind that I'm pretty sure that we saw all season. Most things in this market are just going to be mostly worthless over a long enough period of time. Bless you, sir. Hoax. Oh dear. So now we're talking about AVAX, and now we're talking about hoax. E&J on the 4-hour daily. It's gonna be a long stream, man. It's gonna be a long fucking stream. Oh, do we have another coin that went to the moon and beyond? I'm pretty sure this would also be another 300% move from summer to, I mean, just in like two to 3 months, September to November. I think that was alt season, man. How greedy we getting here? How greedy we getting? Anyways, I'm not saying that towards you, man. I understand what you mean in the context of it. You're looking for something more similar to 2017. I just don't think that we're in that same market anymore, man. Just different dynamics going on here. Anyways, ENJ on what? The CDC's altcoin of choice. What have I done now, man? 4-hour and daily. Okay, so daily actually is showing some relative strength right here. This one has gotten beat up on this on the short-term move to the downside. Again, I do think things are a little more likely to bounce right from this region. What would be your validation of a continuation with targets up, maybe even to like 2.25 to 235 region would be a 4-hour closure just above your range highs, which is 188 in this case. And this one is actually kind of catching a little bit of a potential crown cross in the making right here. It's not quite there just yet, but especially as long as this one's above about 172, it is actually it's probably going to be a decent entry into that with targets up to your next range highs in this case. This one obviously gets invalidated and implies a lot more continuation of the downside with any sort of a 4-hour closure below 150. I think this one is showing a little bit more relative strength, to be fair, and if that were to be met, I don't think it's going to be met, at least before a try to the upside over the next few weeks here. I guess I would be targeting somewhere down around about 1.25 to 120, but this one actually operating okay. Again, working off extreme conditions right here. More likely to bounce. This one could really bounce up towards like 230 or so, and that'd be okay. And long term, how would we be looking right here? I mean, it'd be a bounce up to 55. Yeah, probably does continue up a little bit more, maybe even 250 if the rest of the market gets catches a nice bid. And to be fair, this is one of the few things on a weekly time frame, one of the very few charts that I think I've seen in a long time actually, that still has higher lows on a weekly. So for right now, to be fair, it's something like this, right? So you are still seeing some signals of long-term accumulation over the past year and a half now. So I do think that this one is showing some relative signals of strength, but just keep those areas in mind. If Bitcoin bounces above its range highs, I expect this one to really bounce a little bit more in relationship to that, somewhere around about 230 for the next move over the next few weeks, and then perhaps more over the next month or so. But not bad right there. Monthly coming off the 21, again, just kind of a natural bouncy region. So I'd give it the benefit of the doubt, at least for right now. But again, it's very difficult to be, calling anything majorly different than what we see on, just the broad market. Anyways, I'm just hey, all good hoax, man, all good, yeah, and thank you for bringing up this chart. It's actually one of the more interesting ones that we've seen in a while here. So I think that definitely deserves a bit of a shout out. Anyways, we have Mr. King Cosmic. What's up, brother? Henlozer, peace be upon you. I got you, brother. Yes.
Did you do the super track?
Yes, I did do super drac. Oh no, I did not do super drac. Sorry, it's sand. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Sand on the daily and hourly. Sand, another one that's kind of bouncing a little bit more. A KKNK. Can you translate that shit? I don't. Google, sir. We have the fucking internet. We got robots to translate this shit for us now. Another one that's having a pretty damn good bounce. It did hit our downside targets. Bouncing off this region right here, it's generally a good sign. So short-term relative strength. I think you're looking at an hourly and a 4-hour from there. Hourly is actually in a nice little reversal, or has had a reversal for a while. So maybe the 4 hours possibly reversing here too. Oh yeah, it's already had a reversal. Nice. And the crown cross is actually it's actually showing not a bad trade right there. In fact, as well, with an obvious failure below about 340 in this case. Anyways. This one's already broken above range highs. I think it's Korean. It's not Japanese because it would be in yen, sir. That's in Korean won, so it's probably Korean.
Is it south or north?
It's probably not North Korea. I'm gonna guess it's probably not North Korea. I don't think they have the fucking internet there, sir. What are you talking about? We've watched like several Elsa calls documentaries. She goes, I want to watch a document tonight. It's like, what the fuck? I would like to watch the document of North Korea's. It's like, what? Anyways, actually look for this one to continue. This one's having a good relative response right here. Next area of interest would be about 445 to 450 or so. Same thing on the daily actually too. I'd be looking for pullbacks around there, but I do think that this one's probably seen the lows for a while here. After you do get that next move to the upside, let's see where the areas of interest would be, and then come back with some areas of failure. So, wow, big areas of interest up to about 470 to 540 or so. Very interesting right there. So this would be kind of like my area of caution, essentially. If I am looking for a long-term downtrend, I'm looking for rejections within this region, some weakness right around here. I'm not saying that it's literally going to go exactly from where you're at to this region, but But just, as a general guide for like the next month and a half to 2 months, to see something like this and it turns down and then you specifically come back down below about 350 or so, that would be very, 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 very concerning for the long term. But until then, I actually do think that this one's probably seen the extent of its downside for a while. Yeah, actually having a relatively strong response here as well. So this one, I think this one's actually just generally a really good one to kind of focus on for the simple fact that, we saw a parabolic move to the upside. Again, for people wondering when alt season, here's September to December, 1400 fucking % to the upside. And that's just for a few months. You hit extremes on daily BBWP twice. What happens after that? Sideways and down for a long time, which is kind of what we were focusing on right here. I do think that you've seen, I think that you've seen enough for now to kind of trade sideways and up for a little bit of time. And then, I still don't think it's going to like reverse for a long time, to be fair, but trading sideways within this range now is actually going to be long-term okay. Anyways, King Cosmic, there he is. All right, let's get to you, man. Yeah, so let's go follow up on traditional markets. So I know that you like to look at SPY. I was looking at NASDAQ earlier, both very similar charts right here. You are starting to see a lot of indication that this one is catching a bid down around this region, and probably next move is a bounce to the upside to start off February, maybe like into the next few weeks of February. So somewhere around about 4,500 or about 44.90 to 45.25 or so is kind of where I'd be looking for. Keep in mind, it is time to be looking for lower highs, however. So long term, this one is going to start to do some pretty nasty things. But does that mean that you can't play out a short-term upside move, or relatively a short-term upside move in the next few weeks, maybe something like this, and then come back down? Well, if you do see something like that and it comes down specifically below about 44.30, big fucking problems, and that probably is a little more likely for the long term. Actually, look at the weekly right here. This is a really good response. I was not expecting that. Weekly can very easily bounce up into the mid 4500s. Monthly, hey, damn it, I did it again. Monthly, do we see anything super concerning here? Yeah, we do see bearish divergence. So long term, after a bit of a bounce long term, assuming that this thing doesn't like rally up and end the day above about 45.50, which it's kind of crazy, but I guess it could happen, but probably unlikely. I suppose long term, I probably would be looking for a move down to about 4,100 to 40.50 or so, and play that out alongside monthly Joule downside signal. So last time that we saw both bearish divergence plus a monthly Joule downside signal did take this one all the way down to the 55. I think that would be asking for a little bit too much, but at least a 21 is probably relevant, which is just under 4,100 or so long term. So it's a long way of saying short term bouncy, long term not great. Hourly, where would I validate a continuation of the upside move on the hourly? Well, short term, I actually think that this one does come down, maybe even all the way back down to 43.75. If you are an hourly, which I know that you typically do like, I would validate a continuation of a pretty major bounce here above, would I use this area? Honestly, I'd actually use this area right here just because it is a little more pertinent for the short term. Now it'd be about 44.50. And then I'd be looking at relevant regions to the upside that we just spoke about. Cool. All right. Giovanni D says, curious your thoughts on OMI USD. Okay. I know that there's a lot of skepticism about the fundamentals of a project like this. It seems to be like kind of a transparent Ponzi from what I understand. Either which way, I am looking for this one to come down here. It's got a completely different chart than most things that we've seen in this market, so it is doing its own thing, to be fair. But I think this one is actually is showing kind of signs of relative strength, to be fair. Not that it might not even be really related to the rest of the market, but I do think that it kind of fills out this region at best for a while into probably late March, to be quite frank. So seeing as you just kind of test your range highs, probably going to come back down and test around your range lows. I would be looking for higher lows anywhere around about 5.5, so 5.5 tenths of a cent or so. Big problems in macro reversal in progress below 5.2 tenths of a cent. That would have major targets down over time towards 3.7 tenths of a cent and maybe even lower than that. But to be fair, actually holding its own right here. I know that this thing is, again, it's questionable a lot of the time. Weekly is not bad, actually. In fact, the weekly makes me reconsider that this thing even comes down in the short term. See a 4 hour very likely does still have one more leg down, 6.5 tenths of a cent or so. But you don't really give me any time frames to go off of here, so I don't really know. Long term, it's got a different chart. I don't really have much else to say about it. Here's what I'd feel a lot more confident and comfortable talking about. You will very likely see a major macro breakout to the upside with validation of a macro breakout to the upside is what I'm trying to say, with any sort of a daily closure above about 8.2 tenths of a cent. At that point, I'd be looking for this one to retarget this blue box right here and probably just continue on with the general upside party after that. I'm only bearish on this one long term below about 5.2 tenths of a cent. Until then, it's got an interesting chart, but I don't know if this one's like at the mercy of a potential rug pull. So fair enough. All right, Gary Keegan says, looking down the road, where do you see Bitcoin in 12 months? I mean, I don't have a fucking crystal ball, man, but where do I see Bitcoin in 12 months? I see it, at some point, I see it going probably lower at some point, than where we're currently at, and then probably finishing the year a little bit higher than where we're at. That'd be my general view, but I don't know, man. There's no way for me to know. I take things one step at a time, and I really don't even feel too comfortable going on a time frame higher than a weekly. And for right now, it's like, what does a weekly have to do with the end of the year? A weekly, it's I mean, how many weeks do we have until the end of the year? Too many, like like 48, I think by now. So it's too far away for me to really have any major or reasonable opinions about. I would not stand by anything that I'm talking about right now for the end of the year. That's basically what I have to say about that. I don't think that Bitcoin's going to make like new highs this year, for example. And if it does make new lows, I think 25,000 is probably about where I'm looking for. I think that you're mostly going to be looking at a range bound market at best for a long time. The dynamics have changed. Things are a lot different now. Okay. There we go. Okay, sweet. All right. Ali Strum says, howdy, sir. What's up, man? KNC 4-hour and daily overview, please. Seems to have some strength over the past few weeks. All right. I remember this one from 2017. Kyber Network Crystal had some relationship to Mr. Vitalix. And I would agree with you. It is showing relative strength. I would 100% agree with you, actually. You do see a bit of a higher low right here. It's kind of curling around above all major moving averages on a weekly. I'm looking for this one to pop back up towards 240 to 230 to 240 region. Any sort of a validation above that region, I guess this obviously did not work out, but that is not the most important thing right here. It'd be this area right here. Any sort of a validation above this region on even a daily, and I'm looking for this one to retest around its highs of 2021 and probably continue on from there. I'm only bearish on this thing long term. If you come back down below 130, below there, big fucking problems, probably working its way down well below $1 after that over time, but showing relative strength and actually not just okay, but good. So I think that this is, again, a bit more of a comforting thing, because you'd expect most things in this market to be absolutely fucking falling to the pits of hell if the general market was going to be doing that. We don't see this on this one right here. So that is rather interesting. I imagine this one probably has some legitimate fundamentals going on, and even the 4 hours trending right now as well to the upside. So I'm probably even be looking for a short-term move somewhere around about $1.90 to $2 or so. Let's see. Crypto King says, how many monthly red dildos in a row can Bitcoin have, do you think? I mean, it can have infinite. There's no rule that says you can have, after 5 red dildos in a row, there'll be no more red dildos. There's only been 3 right now. Look, you can do a statistical analysis of this, of the past. If you literally are just going off of color, which I don't think that color is the best thing to go off of, because obviously, it can be technically red, or in my case purple, but still be like, a doji, right? Which is basically no change anyways. But 3 months in a row right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. So it can obviously go a lot more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. Right now we're working on number 3, so it can definitely go for more, even from a statistical perspective. And over here, it's like, do you consider this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row? I mean, because technically you have a green one right here. Technically you have a green one right here, but these are not like, these don't mean anything. So I think that that's a really, in my opinion, and I've seen that people do this in the past. It sounds intuitive. It's like, how much lower can we go? It's like, the problem is that you can have a red dildo that goes 80% down, or you can have a red dildo that goes 1% down. It's just a terrible way to be looking at things, in my opinion. So I don't think that matters. And I don't think that it's a reasonable way to be looking at analysis, just my opinion. So yeah. Anyways, Fat Nuts says, hey, Krown, can you look at Algo USD on the daily weekly? Yeah. Yes, Mr. Fat Nuts. Man, that is a great name. Again, another chart that's a little bit more on the weaker side right here, but you see it start to kind of catch a bid around its prior, in this case, summer lows, very similar to Bitcoin. Daily, you have a pretty obvious range going on right here. 4 hour, I imagine same thing as well. And probably the 4 hour range is going to be the same thing as the daily. Yeah, I'd call it range resolution, even on like a 4 hour closure above $1 in this case. So anything resembling this, and even a lower term time frame closure above about $1, and I would be looking for targets up, or sorry, next target up somewhere around about $1.11 or so, $1.10 to $1.12, and then maybe more long term, it works its way up towards about $1.30. Long term, I would not call any macro reversals as long as you're below this last low rejective high, which is about 178, 180-ish region. I know you asked about a weekly as well. Yeah, same thing to say about here too. Technically speaking, still operating on higher lows on the weekly, so you do have potential for hidden bullish divergence. I mean, it's it's kind of a bit of a stretch right there, to be fair, but is this one more likely to bounce out of this region to the upside or not? I still want to see validation for it, but you got the same condition over here. Very, very extreme conditions on daily BBWP. What would essentially validate a major downside continuation? That'd be below about 87 and a half to be exact. And at that point, I guess I'm looking towards an official retest of your summer lows, which would be 70-ish cent or so target. But until then, a little more likely to bounce here, I think. Cool. All right. Echoes Yen says Atom USD 4 hour and daily on Binance. All right. Thank you for specifying timeframes and exchange as well. This is good. It's really, really nice. Daily, or actually I should start this one on the weekly. I do think it'd be a little more obvious if it did have a slight test a little bit lower, $24.50 or so, and probably bounces there. Daily. Same thing. I mean, this one's getting beaten up pretty hard to the downside. I think you could have maybe one more swipe to the downside. 4 hours still just a fucking catastrophe. So that's a problem. Will you be building up some bullish evidence at some point? Yeah, at some point. But it ain't there just yet, man. It ain't there just yet. Where would I call a bounce is actually like kind of safe in this case? It's pretty far away, man, because this one's just been slumping here. But it'd be back up about $30.50. At that point, I'd be looking for this one to give another try up towards 34.5 to 35.5 or so. Long-term, monthly, just curious. Not as bad as many things on the monthly, but yeah, you still have the bearish divergence right there. That will be confirmed later today. And long term, does this one make a move a little bit below $20? Maybe yes, but that would be more long term. I don't know if that's relevant to you or not. Short term, it's relatively weak. I'm not really getting too much that's interesting on this one just yet. Where would this one be more likely to bounce if not here? I mean, I guess around your summer lows in this case, or sorry, your December lows in this case, but. Look, if Bitcoin bounces, if Bitcoin validates above its medium-term time frame range highs, you're very likely to see this thing follow as well and probably hit some relevant targets. Long-term, I mean, this is not a bad chart long-term, but, can correct down heavily. And I'd feel a little bit more, I think it'd be a little more obvious of a low if it did come down somewhere around the 55 right there, which is actually just under $24, but anywhere around there is fair game. So maybe one more move to the downside, and then I'll be looking for perhaps the next major low and work off that and then come back to it later. Okay, let me scoot around here. There we go. Let's see. AK McCarr. Hey, mate. Hope you and Elsa are well. Yeah, man. It was a good night's sleep last night, actually. Aleph. Okay, this is a new one. ALEPH. This is oh, goddamn, it's fucking crypto. Okay, not as bad as what I would have expected, but I do think that this one has further downside to go on the weekly. It seems like you're not concerned about that, but 41 cents probably over a long enough time horizon. Daily, again, you actually probably do put in a major low, maybe not necessarily all the way down to 41 cents, but somewhere between about 44 to 46 and a half. You're kind of already there. And you are starting to curl around, and this would be considered a test of the 200 right there. So it's a likely bouncy region, especially coming off of extreme conditions over here, while it also does lose a moving average. So I'm probably looking for it to do some like this, right? Bounce back up. Targets to the upside, it could actually be rather reasonable here. Let's see. Yeah, anywhere between 60 cents to 70 cents actually is probably where I'd be looking for over the next month. Long term, not a terrible chart. Again, not a terrible chart, man. So I mean, you do have many drops of bearish divergence, so maybe it does have one more swipe lower, but ultimately I am looking for a bounce kind of out of this region with those targets in mind. That would be validated. Okay, I should talk about validation conditions here, obviously. That would be validated with a full hour closure above 54.5 cents, and then I would be looking for that move. Curious what the monthly looks like. Okay, not much of a monthly to be fair. Not great. Really not great right there. Maybe I take that back. Maybe I take that back. But yeah, that's why I'd wait for the 4-hour validation conditions. Until then, you know, technically speaking, you still got a bunch of lower highs. You have hidden bearish divergence right here as well. You'll be validated, or at least I would validate this one for a downside continuation to new lows around the 41-cent region. If you do see a 4-hour closure below about 47 cent, a little bit above 47 cent right there. What? For what? Oh, Suno. Wait. Well, yeah. Okay. All right. Joe, please daily. Like this thing, Joe. Joe, it's me, Joe. Not fucking good. Maybe over here. Also not good. Not much of a daily. This is fucking awful. Trader Joe over here. Also quite bad. Yeah, I've actually charted this one out before. I definitely lost the 170 region, and Doom was initiated after. So I guess while that chart is still relevant, it's not relevant for right now. I'm looking at this as probably another lower high in the making. Very, very bearish here below 160. Very fucking ugly. And you got the same, oh, here we go. So you got the same sort of rolling hills of distribution that we saw. I think it was much earlier in the stream, something like this. Where it kind of comes down, and then that was the relevancy of that 170-ish region, heavily bearish below there. I would only entertain reversals if you see a daily closure above 160. Until then, I'm looking at this as probably your next lower high, actually, with hidden bearish divergence included. Daily BBWP is not exactly where you want it to see. If you're just going to have like a major continuation of the downside, probably another test around the lows, whether that be just below 90 cents, somewhere between 90 and 75 cents or so. Yeah, not great, man. Again, when you go to the moon, you go back to the doom typically. Long term, does this thing work its way down to 10 cents? Maybe yes. Not strong on its own, but yeah, pretty ugly right there. Short term, is it more? Yeah, look, the problem with these charts is that they don't really trade much. I mean, look, man, I'm looking at the fucking volume on this. In a 4-hour dildo, which on something that trades for $1, so this is extremely low numbers, it traded 44 times. Like, that's nothing. So I really don't trust TA on something like this, but if I'm going off of, you know, my usual tools, heavily bearish below 160, I'd only call reversals above there, and even then, I just don't trust a chart like this. So yeah. Anyways, I see. Okay, Elsa's going to close the chats right there. Opa says translation, or sorry, Shane says translation. Opa is going to beat 29K. Opa, I love you too. I just wasted my money. Don't know what the hell what is Opa? I don't know. But fair enough, man. Pin my message. Pin my message. All right, let me see. There it is. Found it. Okay. Crypto Med says, hey brother, Sol 4-hour and daily. Yes. Okay. Okay, where's my Shalanas? 4-hour and daily. Daily, already on the lows. Man, that one is not catching a bid right there. I would still refrain from calling downside continuation, similar to Bitcoin, as long as it's above about 34,500. Same thing for Solana, above about 8570. As long as you're above there, I do look for this one to very likely bounce first, but probably going to be easier to watch Bitcoin. It is a little more on the relatively weak side. 4-hour range resolution to the upside would be had with any sort of a 4-hour closure above 104 and 27 cents, and you'd have a really good signal, or a really good initial signal, just by getting above this last $97 high right there. If you do validate above your medium-term range highs, I would be looking for next move rally up to like 120, maybe even as much as 130 or so on the daily, and then come back to it after that. This one's been beat up a shit ton to the downside. Again, extreme conditions right here. I think you're probably more in line for a pity rally at minimum into February 1st with those targets in mind. But hey, if you do take out the bottom side of the range, well, there's going to be some pretty nasty targets to the downside in this case. I'm guessing, yeah, 70 to 75 or so is kind of where I'd be looking for. And Jesus Christ, I mean, that is one hell of a chart, man. That is one hell of a chart. What's up, Jesus Vargas? Ethereum 4-hour and daily. Yeah, we can do that one really quickly over here. Mr. Ethereum, or Mr. Buterolls. Same chart as before. Over the, I think last we looked at this was Friday. Above your range highs, which is 2118. I actually do look for this one to go on a nice little run, probably somewhere just shy of 3,000, very likely somewhere right around here. Or I guess that's more like 2,900, but I don't think that things would really stop there. I do think that this one would make a move higher over later in February, maybe March, somewhere around about 32 to 3,400 or so. I would only call a downside continuation I'd only call a downside continuation of new lows on this rally with a full hour closure below 2360. And at that point, where am I targeting? Well, actually probably would just be looking for a retest of your 2100 lows or so, somewhere between about 2000 and 2100, and then probably another try for a short-term bounce there. Yeah, that's really all that I say about that one. Again, this market's all going to kind of move in the same vein as each other. So, you know, it's easy to watch Bitcoin as its regions are a little bit more clearly well defined. For Ethereum, it would be a really good initial indication for it to even just close a full hour back above that last lower high that you saw at 2640. But still, I want to see the actual range highs taken out and then very likely rallies into mid, maybe even late February. Cool. Let me take another sippy sip of this. Starting to lose my damn throats. Shilling is closed for the day, says Big Boy George. Yeah, I suspect that's actually the purpose of a lot of the requests. Is it's not so much to like get an opinion on the charts. It's more or less to get charts in front of people. Problem is during these portions of the markets, like you're probably not gonna hear too many good things from me over the long term here. Anyways. Let's see. Echo Zien says BNB BTC. Okay. I actually would be very curious to see a lot of Bitcoin pairings just to know if the general market's trending down versus Bitcoin. Yeah, this one would be that in the daily at least. Weekly. Let's see. Yeah, I do think that this one's going to be coming down significantly over the next few months, somewhere around about 8,700 to 9,000 Satoshis or so. Long term, it's actually not a terrible chart as much as I am not a fan of this exchange. But I do think that this one does have a downside move into like February, March region, and then very likely try some long-term upside, maybe around end of year or so. You're looking at a 4 hour and daily. You said already wrecked versus hopium above 0.01. You know, yeah, I mean, 0.11 is kind of where I'd be looking for, you know, hopium to new highs. And it wouldn't be hopium at that point. It'd be, you know, very likely new highs, but daily, do we continue down from here? Yeah, I do think so. Yeah, I think you have one more drive to the downside, somewhere around, you know, 95, 9,600 on the daily, probably bounce around there. Bounce probably is another lower high. I think that the weekly does correct fully somewhere down around about 8,600 to 9,000 Satoshis before this one's going to have a chance to put in like a major, potentially macro low. 4 hour as you requested. You know, it's going to be bounced along the way, but for right now, I actually think that this one's probably done bouncing for the time being. Maybe it doesn't move above to like 0.01 even, but not much to get excited about here. I don't think. I'll be wrong on the short term if you do take out your last week highs at about 108 or so, but even then, I think there's a little bit of hopium right there. Let's see. Okay, got that. Phase Junior. Are you in the Phase clan, sir? Oh, my weekly and daily. Yep, we got that one earlier. KKNKK says Bitcoin goes to 29,000. Other coins will see hell. Yeah, I would generally agree. I mean, whatever direction Bitcoin goes, the rest of the market's gonna follow, man. So if Bitcoin does something like this, you're gonna see the market absolutely fucking schlacked again. Then seem to be cheerleading some downside. Fair enough, man. I'm all about cheerleading positions. That is the most professional way to get price action to do what you want it to do. RM says, I'm wrecked. Adam, daily, weekly. We got that one earlier, so all good there. Although I apologize to hear about your wrecked conditions, sir. I'm actually, wait, did we do this one earlier? I'm pretty sure we did this one earlier. Yeah. Again, long term, actually don't hate this chart, but still corrective for the time being. Wouldn't be surprised to see another move down somewhere. What was the weekly area? Somewhere around like $24 or so. And then try for a greater bounce there, perhaps. Captain BT Crypto says, Theta, please. Sure. Theta, okay. Whoops. Didn't type it in properly. There we go. Okay. No time frames given, so I'm just going to roll with this one. I'm going to guess a weekly and a daily. Daily, I mean, this one is a little more on the relatively weak side, especially for the short term. 313 is kind of where we'd be looking for in order to confirm a nice range resolution, not for a higher term time frame, but for a full hour with targets up probably around 370, maybe even as much as 420. Great number, but that's a problem. That's a problem long term. I mean, Jesus Christ. Again, talk about altcoin season, right? This one from November 2020 to April 21 went up 2,600%. I mean, that's just insane. I think this one's going to be based on the lows for a while at best. 5 day, you know, you're kind of in a bouncy area for the short term. I would not call a bounce, or at least a validated bounce, until you're at least closing 4-hour dildos above about, I said 313 earlier. You could probably make that like 311 and a half, with targets up, 365, or sorry, 370 to 420 perhaps over time. But again, I just don't expect anything like this to be doing well if Bitcoin turns down, and this one is relatively weak, and I would call a major downside continuation to new lows. If you do see a closure on a 4-hour even below about 255 or so, I'd be calling major continuation of new lows. I guess just around $2 or so over time. Not great right there. Monthly, yeah, not the chart of the day. Not the fucking chart of the day. I actually do think over a long enough time horizon, this one probably works its way below $1, maybe around like end of year or so. Echoes the end, says Visa on daily weekly. Yeah, symbol V, I believe it is. Yeah, never actually traded this one myself, but powerful chart right there. Monthly is looking good, man, especially coming into the end of January right here. I'm looking for this one to pop back up towards 240, maybe even 250. Into maybe end of Q1 of this year. Not bad. I know that you didn't ask about a monthly, but that is the most obvious chart, as is the weekly. A bullish engulfing on volume very likely works its way up to 235 to 240-ish region in February. Daily, as you also requested, yeah, pretty good right there. I'm guessing this is probably an earnings plan, something like that. I'm only bearish on this thing if it comes back down below 209, 210 region. Bitcoin is rebounding from 29,000. I got short from 45,000. Bitcoin, it hasn't gone to $29,000 yet, sir. Must be a different chart over there on the Korean won. Witness says VRA daily weekly. Let's see. VRA veracity. Not great. Not great. Again, same chart that we've seen mostly around this stream today. Daily. You could even do this range on a 4, I'm sure, as well. Yeah. 4-hour range resolution at the upside would be validated above about 2.25, with targets up towards 275, maybe as much as 3 cents. Big conditions for downside continuation would be validated below about 181, even on a 4-hour closure as well. In this case, I suppose I'd be looking towards about 1.5 cents, or sorry, more like 1.6 cents or so. Man, this thing fucking pumps and dumps, doesn't it? Let's actually try this for a second. Yeah, that's a hell of a chart right there, man. Again, another one that in the course of about 3-4 months went up 1,100%. I think that's altcoin season. I think that's alt season, man. I think at best this one's gonna be hanging on the lows for a while, but hey, if you do validate above your short-term time frame range highs, probably a nice little rally into yet again another lower on the daily. Yeah, hard chart to love, man. Long term, very ugly. As long as you're below about 5 cents or so. Above 5 cents, you're probably looking good for the long term. But until then, I think corrective rallies at best. Maybe might be building up some bullish evidence on a daily. Nope, you're not. Oh well, that's not great. What? Yeah, I'll do. Oh yeah, Nimbo's over here. All right, Mr. Nimbo. Let's see. He says, "Morning, sir. Can we please look at the inverted 5-day chart on?" Down to the 4-hour. What the fuck? For all the fucking time frames, man? What the fuck, dude? I trusted you. What the hell is this? All right, yeah, we'll do this really quick. Yeah, not great. Not fucking great right there, man. Even on CME, you can see a very obvious range right here. Now, you got the same highs, you got the same lows. It is more or less just a long-term box, but that would imply that we probably do test the range lows again. At some point. If you're looking at a daily, looks like it's trending right now. Again, corrections up to even $44,000 are still just corrections. Would still be higher lows in this case. 4-hour trending to the upside right now, so not great right there as well. Will break current trend below 30. What is this? 38. Basically $39,000, just below $39,000. Other than that, I don't really have anything new to say about this. Maybe the weekly might be interesting. Looks a little more downside in the short term on the weekly for what it's worth. Monthly, yeah, monthly long term probably do look at that. Bitcoin goes down more than 29,000, so let go of your hope and do a short position. Oh, okay. It's like shilling your position now. I think I've made my thoughts pretty damn clear, man. I am kind of long-term bearish, but short-term, maybe not of the same idea. But you know what? We can all have our different ideas on price action, man. That's why you do your own position. You don't need to convince other people to do what you think is going to happen in order for it to happen. Price action is going to do what price action is going to do, whether you super chat it or not, man. but it sounds like you have a strong conviction in your position, which is why you feel the compelled to to do that. Anyways, I'll hang around here for like another 5-10 minutes or so, maybe just 5 minutes. My voice starting to hurt already. And just read some of the comments. Visa earnings report this week, so it hasn't come out just yet, our ResJack. So when you see something rally into an earnings report, that's typically a sign that that is a strong stock. But usually the earnings report will probably initially blow it up, and then it probably comes back down to kind of where it's at right now. But still one of the better ones. In fact, the only chart that we saw today that was like legitimately good for what it's worth. Let's see. Hey, what's up, Philson? I see you over there, man. I see you over there. Good morning to you. All right, a lot of people want to look at FTM. I guess we'll just quickly, very briefly look at that. FTM, not great, man. Still looking for downside on this one. I have no reason to be looking for any prolonged upside as long as you're below 240, and I still think that downside targets are going to be met before any sort of potential long-term upside continuation, man. Krown, take care of your mods. They deserve it. Yeah, man, I love the mods here. They're the unsung heroes, or hopefully the sung heroes of this of these streams, man. You know, without them, I mean, this place, like, who knows what would be happening? Who knows what would be happening? Although we do have a pretty easygoing community to begin with, so it ain't all that bad. Nimbo says Davo has rent due. Can you please check out SL? Oh god damn it, this man, you love your rocks, don't you, sir? You just love your rocks. Daily and full hour. I'm not sure. I probably do look for this one to reach a little bit lower, somewhere right around about $1.40 to $1.42, but I'm actually not bearish on this chart long term just yet. Nor am I. Last I looked at gold. These things just take so fucking long, man. This requires a metric ton of patience here. I'm still not bearish on gold, man. I'll be bearish on gold below about 1750 or so. Until then, probably looking for this one to make a move maybe around end of this year or so. That ain't bad right there. FTM mid-season happened. Don't know what that means, Lillian, but if it means at whatever event people were looking for already happened, yeah, I think that one speaks for itself. Probably trading a little bit more downside there, but long term, it doesn't have a bad chart long term. I actually think that one is probably one of the better ones long term, but I don't think it has, or it's not relatively strong short term, which is not a good sign. We've already looked at AVAX, man. If you could stop spamming that would be nice. It's like watching paint dry. Exactly, man. Yeah, I don't have the patience to trade some like gold. I mean, you have to be on a monthly, maybe even quarterly time frame for that one to make a lot of sense. Krown, GBTC on the monthly going to confirm downtrend. Can you confirm, please? Let's see. I haven't looked at GBTC in a long time. Let's see. Let's go over here to the monthly. Is it going to confirm a downtrend? Do we have a lower high? Kind of got the same highs right there. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a downtrend just yet, but you will have your first lower low, so that would be rather concerning. And you do already kind of see that correction down to the 55. Also, your 2018 highs right here. Yeah, I mean, I do think that this is kind of relevant to potentially prepare for as the worst case scenario for Bitcoin, something like that. AK Makar says, hey, Krown, can you give some hopium for someone who is just starting their TA education, putting in the effort, backtesting strategies? Is it worth it? If you need to tell me that it's worth it, man, you're not going to be successful. Actually, I'm gonna kind of do the opposite right here, man. I'm going to dissuade you. If you need someone else to validate what you're doing as successful or not, it's not going to be successful. There is a simple reason for that, because at some point you need to graduate into being your own authority when it comes to trading and analysis. You can come and reference my own as like a colleague would, but you should always value your own analysis more, because it's going to be more specific and pertinent towards yourself. So when you're looking for that, it shows that you have not evolved into that into that sort of a mindset, which is what you will need to do if you are going to take this on as a professional, because that is what it means to be professional, is to be confident in your own analysis, which you validate to yourself through backtesting. So regardless of whether I say, hey man, you got a good strategy or a bad strategy, you should be able to come back and say, or maybe even not even bother say, but you say to yourself, well, why do I care about his opinion if I have this data in front of me that shows me that this is either going to be successful or not? Like, it doesn't matter what I think, man. So you need to be a lot more confident in what you're doing yourself. I don't know, maybe you're younger, maybe you haven't really like reached that stage in life just yet. that'll naturally happen with time, but at the same time you need to cultivate that yourself. So when you first get into the TA program, I don't know if you're in there or not, or if, when you're just starting to first learn anything really, obviously you're going to reference someone else for, you know, like the how-to, right? That's the purpose of like a TA program or like a tutorial or whatever, you know, you might see on YouTube as well. And that can come about multiple different ways. Of course, at that stage, you know, you're going to kind of, you're obviously going to reference that work as like, okay, this is what I want to work off. But after enough time, you know, typically about a year to a year and a half, you're going to start to evolve into, you know, lessening the sort of outside inputs into your analysis and trusting yourself more. And that is the natural sort of road that many people take who do become successful with this, is that, and I can just speak from the TA program because that's, you know, the people who I like reference, but, and also myself, my own history as well, is that, you know, you'll spend like the first year and a half kind of learning, back testing your strategies, you know, having a lot of successes, having a lot of failures, and not really having consistency. Although some people do get there a little bit faster as well. Some people never get there at all if they don't put the effort in, but it sounds like you're putting the effort in. And then what happens after that is that they kind of like leave, and you should leave. It's like the pilgrimage or the fucking rite of passage, essentially, where you let go of all the external influences and you start to really trust in yourself. And that is when you evolve into that sort of a mindset. So if you need me to convince you that it's going to work, it's not going to fucking work, because you need to be convinced of yourself, of your own accord. You cannot be reliant on me or anyone else for that matter. At which point, you know, that's like the difference between being your own trader, your own boss, and perhaps working at a job where you have a boss who validates and tells you what you can do and cannot do. And that's also, you know, why I imagine a lot of people want to go that route, because that takes away a lot of the, you know, it does take away a lot of the concern and anxiety with life, because you don't have as much to think about. It's not even a bad thing. That's just, you know, that's just either some people take that responsibility or they do not. But that's the difference between those sorts of people. So, you know, if you're going to be doing that, I really push back on that, man. You should not be reliant on what I say. You should be reliant on yourself. And you can look at me as like a colleague, and that's how you should look at me, as like a colleague. Just, you know, someone else who trades for a living, who you can reference, but as always, you're going to value your own experience and your own opinion on like your own work rather than mine. Anyways, yeah, I think I got that one right there. I got wrecked so many times it doesn't hurt anymore. I mean, that's not a good thing either. It's not a good thing either. All right, we need to ban Richard Simmons. Mods, do your job. For the love of God. Jesus Christ, man. I mean, this guy must have like serious free time, because you actually have to be you have to join this channel for 10 minutes before you can even comment. That is insane. Yeah, I understand that he means well. I totally understand that AK Makar means well, but you do have to evolve into that. And it could just be that you're young, you know, it could just be that you're young, because that's kind of the way that you are naturally going to be when you're like less than, especially 25, maybe even 28. Biggest mistake I made when I started trading was position size. Yeah, I mean, the biggest mistake that I think people make when first starting is that they trade any real money, man. So when I first started, I think it was about 4 months. I think it was about 4, maybe 5 months of just trading testnet. That's it. I didn't touch a real account. And when I did touch a real account, I was trading one lots, you know, which is as small as it goes, for options. Do indicators work those on YouTube? That's good English, sir. It's probably not your first language, but do indicators work those on YouTube? All indicators probably have some validity, some value in working, but can you put it into a plan? Like, if you're just gonna look at if you just look at the jewel over here and you're just like, hey, it turned color, but you haven't backtested your strategy, you have no strategy. Like, the indicator is just giving you an edge. It's not going to always work out. And then with that edge, you need to mediate that with a position management, meaning profit taking, and risk management at fucking minimum, which means, you know, how do you know when it's not going to work out? Because they're not all going to fucking work out. If you had an indicator that always worked out, then everyone would use that indicator and we'd all be rich as fuck. But it just doesn't work like that. Weird things happen. 10 Sigma events happen. So, Speaknese says, hey man, thank you for that. Thank you. Support the Prada. There you go. Back into Elsa's Prada funds right there. We love Nikki Page. Yeah, I mean, we love all of our moderators here. They are great people. Trading is high win rate and risk management. No, you could. I would actually disagree with that. You can have a low win rate. You could have a strategy that has a 20% win rate, but if your risk management, theoretically works into that, you could, technically speaking, be successful over a long enough period of time. For example, one of my strategies right now, in fact, one of my most favorite strategies right now, it has a higher win rate. It actually has a very high win rate, but the losses for that strategy do outweigh the gains on a singular basis. But because there are more wins, well, it over a long enough time period, it works out. But you can obviously, you could reverse that equation in the same way, and you could get the same thing theoretically. Just like you could have an extremely high win rate, but if your losses for that win rate are extremely, are so fucking high that you can't outdo it, then obviously that's not going to be successful as well. Advice on how to accumulate 1 Bitcoin. Easy. Start with 5 Bitcoin. There you go. There you go, man. Krown, do me a favor and scream motion wrecked games. I can't, man. My voice is already on the edge. Bitcoin follows the S&P 500 very close. I would take that a step further. It follows the NASDAQ a lot more closely, as it kind of trades with the tech sector, which means that it even follows XLK more than it follows NASDAQ a little bit more. Wait, what is going on right there? Okay, I think we're probably getting to the end of this one right now. Krown, any opinion on why crypto seems to be following tech stocks recently? I think it's been following tech stocks for a while now because it's treated as a technology. It's treated as a technology, even less so than a financial, actually. If you look at symbol XLF representing the financial sector, it doesn't look as much as that as it does as the technology sector. Hey guys, we're not doing any more super chats. I'll just briefly read Jack's though. Is it possible to add another payment method for your programs? PayPal does not work where I'm located. I don't know. I know that we've kind of looked into it in the past, but it's always a hassle. It's something that we can look into. I mean, we've obviously known you for a long time, Jack, so we could probably make an exception in some way if you email support@crowntrading.net, but I don't also want to say that live on stream here because we don't want to do that. Yeah, we can't promise you, but maybe there's some way that we can figure it out. It'll require a little bit of a work on the back end, but perhaps it can be done, especially for someone like you. Richard Simmons is also amazing. Richard Simmons is great, but man, this guy, I hope your day goes better, man. I really do. Use a VPN. Perhaps, I don't know if that would work or not. I don't know. Hit the thumbs up. Got to 1,000 likes. Hey, thanks, man. Actually, I don't even see it. Oh, I do see it right there. Hey, not bad. Thank you for that. All right, guys. I think we're going to shut off the stream for now. I need to get on with the rest of my day. Need to prepare for a nice little Sims episode. The Bear Moon says Boomer plays games. Yeah, that actually is a callback to the old moons right there. But I think there is a Bear Moon coming. So if you do believe in the moons, well, perhaps that is it. All right, cool. Krown, help spreading information that metaverse is bad for human consciousness. I don't know. I don't know if it is or if it's not. I haven't really studied it enough to really have a super strong opinion on it. Anyways, thanks for joining in, everyone. I'm gonna be signing off now. I'll be back on tomorrow. Got a Sims episode in just a bit here, and with that said, signing off. Take care, and see you hopefully very soon.
Write it, code it, name it, tweet it, mine it, stack it, live it, dream it, post it, scan it, charge it, send it, do it, and receive it. Trade it, buy it, sell it, store it, run it, list it, first rename it. Crypto logic. Pump it, hack it, lose it, dump it, sell it, ditch it, XR pitch it, copy, paste it, nudge it, test it,